What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside the Game, your one source for everything cool in video games. You want to be a part of the show? Then head to InsideTheGame.ca, where there you can submit your clip and end off our show. You know we're also on YouTube at Inside the Game. We're also on Twitch at twitch.tv/theofficialitg, and of course, all of your social channels around the world. Now we have a jam-packed episode this week, all kinds of reviews, a brand new segment, and a Let's Play you're not going to want to miss. So stick around and let's get started with the Inside Scoop.
Alright guys, Microsoft's finally announced the games with gold for June 2020. You know what we need to expect coming as being an Xbox One or an Xbox 360 fan. So let's see which ones we're getting here for June. Starting on June 1st, we're getting Destroy All Humans and Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. And then on June 16th, we're going to be getting Coffee Talk and Sine Mora. Remember, you need to have an active Xbox Live membership to play the Xbox One games, but the Xbox 360 or original Xbox titles are yours to keep after you redeem them once. It doesn't matter if you're still an Xbox Live Gold subscriber.
Ubisoft has just announced the Anno History Collection is coming to PC on June 25th. Now, that's exciting. If you got into Anno 1800, you know that this game is pretty big, and these are 4 titles with all of their DLC included in the package. Those titles are Anno 1602 with the new islands and new adventure packs, Anno 1503 with expansions, treasures, monsters, and pirates, Anno 1701 with the Sunken Dragon DLC, and Anno 1404 with its expansion, Venice. Now, you can pre-order it already, or you can wait until June 25th, where you'll be able to pick one, many, or the collection in its entirety, up for $39.99 American. Now, each of these titles have been increased up to 4K resolution, and they've tweaked some things like matchmaking to the multiplayer system. They also will allow you to take your old save game states into this new version of the game, which I think is unprecedented for a remaster.
The PUBG Continental Series Charity Showdown happened over this past weekend with 16 teams facing off for a prize pool of over $200,000. Oath Gaming reigned as victorious champions over the past weekend, and with the help of PUBG Corporation, will be donating $100,000 to the COVID-19 relief program. The tournament marked the beginning of PUBG esports competitive schedule for the season of 2020, the similar online regional tournament taking place in the future as part of the PCS. Playing host to a collective of memorable moments, the PCS Charity Showdown brought out the reign's most commending teams across 20 matches spanning the consecutive 4 days. Oath Gaming came in first place with 118 kills, 206 points. Shoot to Kill was in second. Psionics came in third. Zenith Esports in fourth. And 303 Esports with 67 kills and 129 points coming in fifth. There's your top 5 teams. Look for the grand finals to place on June 25th and 26th, as well as July 2nd and 3rd.
So almost 2 years ago, the team at Hello Games brought No Man's Sky to the Xbox platform. And you know what? It was a huge game to bring to the platform because you know what? They brought in the next update at the same time that allowed multiplayer just because they knew how Xbox players love to play together, and it was a huge update to bring in and have that multiplayer in this game, and it opened up this procedurally generated universe like so much more. And you know what? It's been so good on the Xbox. They're deciding to finally bring it to Xbox Game Pass. That's right, over 10 million subscribers on the Game Pass right now. That means there's going to be that many more people jumping into this game and making it that much more fun. It's going to be a good one to look for come June.
Warframe is in the news again, as the developers have shown off a live stream of sorts. Warframe is kind of a unique property where it's a free-to-play action third-person shooter game that just keeps picking up steam, regardless of being free-to-play. Extremely popular and always free updates. This is another interesting one. This batch of content is called the Deadlock Protocol gameplay, and we saw a bit of the action with new armor, new weapon sets, a new MOA, and new abilities to get a hand of. The announcement and the stream was to show off Deadlock Protocol gameplay, the newest batch of content from the developers, as they include new weapons, new armors, a new MOA, new abilities, and all sorts of new stuff to this always ever-growing game. Quite impressive, but if you want the full details on this over an hour-long stream, be sure to check it out yourself, as there's a lot of information given.
We want to put a note out there that anybody who's interested in Rainbow Six, the Canadian League, well, the Challenger League qualifiers are now available. It begins starting June 6th. Rainbow Six Siege teams look to prove themselves from around Canada will face off in a best of 3 format that will end with 16 surviving squads. Those squads will fight for the final 8 spots that form Canada Challenger League. So get your team together, sign up, and hopefully we'll be covering you in the Rainbow Six Canada League.
Well, guys, I know there's a ton of great things to look forward to, especially right now in the video game world in the month of May. But the one thing you may not know is that Pac-Man, yes, Pac-Man. I think everybody can relate and kind of understand and always kind of recognize what Pac-Man is. Well, guess what? May 1980, Pac-Man was born 40 years ago. They're celebrating their 40th year anniversary this year, and you know what? I think it's so cool when you see these, older arcade games kind of coming back, making, a little bit of a revival, brings that nostalgia back for me, and I know a lot of people that in my age group definitely are, huge fans of the old arcades when we used to have them. That's not really a thing anymore. But you know what? To celebrate this event, I think no anniversary, can be celebrated without some sort of kind of big drop or, big surprise. Well, guess what? We're getting a new Pac-Man game. Pac-Man Live Studio is going to be launching on the Twitch platform with partnership with Amazon Games, and it's going to allow 4 players to kind of pit each other together in the same map and kind of see who's going to out-chomp each other. I think this one's going to be a lot of fun.
Corey, enemy reinforcements have arrived. Corey, you and I checked out Red Wings Aces of the Skies over on the Nintendo Switch. This was kind of presented to us like a Crimson Skies experience. I guess it was close, not quite, but I still had a pretty good time. What'd you think of this one?
You know what? I think you nailed it. I think when you told me about this game, I was like, "Ooh, yeah. Crimson Sky vibes." Like whenever you hear about a game like this, you just kind of always reference Crimson Skies, and I think everybody does because that game was just so good. It was the ultimate dogfighting plane game. Like it was just so good. So it's kind of the bar's always been set with that, right? So we get Red Wings Aces of the Sky on the Switch, and it definitely feels like a Switch title. It is a little cartoony. There's some comic book, a cutscene playthrough stuff that you kind of get through. And it's all cool, and I really enjoyed it. Some of the voice acting is a little over the top for my liking, but other than that, I think it was still well done. It was a lot of times in Switch games you don't get that much voice acting or that much kind of extra, little bit of features in the game. So that was kind of nice off the bat when I got into the campaign. But I found this game to be the controls were they're simple enough to learn, but I felt like when I was flying the planes and I was, shooting things down, I just kind of felt like I wasn't completely connected to the plane. You know what I mean? Like I'm flying it, but it just in game, it just feels like I'm not really getting that kind of immersive experience. I guess that's probably what I'm going with here. And I tried playing with headphones and stuff like that, right? Just to try to switch it up. And for me, it just was like, I did enjoy it. I had fun, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like I could have had more fun.
So you played in handheld mode? Is that what you did?
Yes.
Okay, so I played on the big screen. I wanted to kind of blow it up and see how it looked on the big screen. Honestly, graphically, I thought it was cool. I like the art style. It had a nice style and smooth. Yeah, the textures were cool. Like, it was just going through the clouds. I thought was really an interesting take, because when you're hunting down the enemies and you're dogfighting with these guys, you go through the clouds and you'll just lose all sight, which kind of makes a lot of sense in the presence when you're doing this. But I thought it was cool that they paid attention to details like that. And then the art style, I thought, was just that, like you said, the comic book-esque feel. And they brought it right into the game itself. But as far as the controls go, I didn't seem to have any major issues. There were a few times, because it is a plane, you're up and down are a little bit different than what you're used to.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of adjust for that, because I forgot. I'm like, it's been a while since I played a game like this. So it took me a bit to understand again and kind of get the rhythm of it. But I found sometimes my guns were just a little off. Instead, like, it would hover over, but I still kind of miss the shooting mechanic of it a bit. But my biggest struggle with the game is the fact with what I kind of opened up with was enemy reinforcements have arrived, because that's all you hear throughout this entire game is that more enemies are there and more enemies are coming. And it's just that rinse and repeat, and the voice acting is also the rinse and repeat within the actual game itself.
Yeah.
And that is where the experience kind of lulls a little bit. You are able to upgrade certain abilities, but those abilities get like a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3. They don't kind of upgrade to the fact that when you upgrade your cooldown, for example, right? So your gun can overheat, but if you upgrade that, then you withstand 10% less reduction, or 10% more, right? So you know what I mean. But at the same time, they don't enhance that past that. All you go from 10% to 25% to 50% cooldown. So I'm like, well, what's big deal. I thought it was just light on the upgrades, right? There's nothing special to say, oh cool, I need to get to that next upgrade. And since we're talking about upgrades, Corey, the way you upgrade is by earning stars, and earning stars in this game are an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna say real quick that I agree with you that there's a lot of great things about this game, but when it comes to the upgrading, it's definitely at first I was kind of I was pleasantly surprised to see how the upgrade menu was kind of like laid out and how we get the stars. And I was like, okay, so your performance base is what you get your 3-star rating out of, and your stars are basically your currency for those upgrades. And I was like, all right, cool. And then you get into the detail of start looking at some of these upgrades, and you're like, oh, okay, well, is this really worth it, or should I really be looking at it and upgrading this instead of this? But then the problem is you also got to spend these stars, and these things don't cost little stars. We're talking 3 stars for the cheapest, and I feel like I'm playing 3-star rounds here on some of these missions, and I'm getting 1-2 stars. And I know some of it's timing based, but man, it's not necessarily easy to get that 3-star rating.
No, not at all. This is one of the worst upgrade systems I think I've seen in a game in a long time. To get that 3-star rating sometimes is really almost impossible. There was one I saw, I finished it in 4 minutes. To get 3 stars, you needed to finish it in 1 minute and 10 seconds. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
I can't even turn the plane around fast enough to get the first wave of enemies.
Not at all. So a lot of the gameplay, though, besides just being this unachievable star rating, is that you go out and you blow up balloons, you then do another dogfight, and then you do another dogfight, but it's just this rinse and repeat. And they changed it up with, you can go in these bombing airplanes, and the bombing mechanic within these things, Corey, was just not what I was looking for. It was really lackluster. The control of the plane was awkward. It didn't feel like you were actually controlling the plane per se. You were dropping bombs, I thought, which was a nice change of pace, I guess, but it just didn't feel right, and disconnected again. and then you're getting shot at. And when you're getting shot at, you can't even maneuver quick enough to get out of the way half the time.
No.
While your plane's getting nailed. So I was just like, man, this whole level section didn't want it compared to what I was playing in the other rest of the game, because the dogfighting for me was a fun time. I had a good time, and it was fun experience doing that dogfight, but it just rinse and repeat with more levels and a little bit of story to kind of break up the levels.
Yeah, no, you know what? I hear you there. And, you know, I'm going to say one good thing I liked about this game, one mechanic that playing other kind of dogfight simulator, playing games like this before, is that you have this kind of quick action feature with your 4 buttons. And I thought that was pretty cool. And you kind of build up your skill points throughout the match, and then you can execute certain moves like a barrel roll, or there's the quick turnaround. There's the execution, which I thought was really cool. When you get one of your enemy planes down real low, it'll prompt a little skull above it, and if you press that X button, it'll be a little cinematic that plays where your guy pulls out a pistol and he shoots the guy, and it's like, oh man, like it's over the top, but it's fun, and it looked really good. They did a good job with it, and like that kind of stuff makes a game like this really fun. And because of the control aspect of it, you got the joysticks, you're not in total full control, right? It's not a full-on simulator, so there is some assist there, so it's nice to be able to have these buttons that allow you to kind of do some of these maneuvers that you can't really pull off on your own.
Well, Corey, I think our dogfighting days are over. What do you score in this one?
Well, you know what? I was really into the whole art style, the comic book kind of feel when you first get into the story mode. I like the fact that you can play co-op split screen. I know we didn't really talk about that too much. It's pretty basic, but it's also there. It's nice to have that. And you know what? Overall, there's a lot of missions in this game. It might be a lot of the same, but if you do find yourself enjoying these missions, you've got a ton of game to play here. So you know what? I got to give this one a 7.5.
You're a bit higher than I am. I do appreciate that the missions aren't that long as well. You're able to jump in and jump out if you wanted to, or you can stick around for a long time, right? I had a good time playing it, but it was a lot of rinse and repeat, and some of the controls were just a little funky at times. So I'm there with a 6.5.
Red Wings is a fun dogfight simulator with easy to learn controls and a ton of missions to play through with or without friends locally. There's a lot to like, but some of the voiceover became pretty repetitive after a while.
Ever wonder what it takes to make a game? Well, welcome to a new series. We're going to follow Clan O'Connell, the Crown of the Stag, and its development process over the next few months as HitGrab leads up to their launch for their game. This month, we're talking with Kelly and Francisco about the beginning stages of Clan O'Connell. So let's check it out. So where did the idea of Clan O'Connell come from? How do you go about designing the concept for a game like this and get started?
Well, it originally came from some drawings that I did years and years ago, like 12 years ago or so, just for my blog. And I just kind of had the idea. I'd been watching a lot of animation, Samurai Jack and that kind of thing. And I like the idea of turning like mythological characters into that style, so I started playing around with that and came up with some really great drawings that people seem to respond to. And then flash forward a few years ago, Francisco came to me and he was like, I've always loved those drawings. Is there any way we could like turn those into like a game or something? And I had never really had an idea of what I wanted to do with them. And then, yeah, a game seemed like the perfect thing to do with those characters and all the different creatures and everything we put together.
Let's talk about the art style, because this is a very unique art style. Like, where do you pull your inspiration from, and why go into more of the style you chose versus something more realistic, like where you can kind of get away with a God of War experience where it's so highly detailed? Do you want to just kind of make it a little more simplistic moving forward?
A bit, yeah. Like a lot of the influence I was pulling from was actually like things like the old like the Book of Kells and Lindisfarne, I think I'm saying that right, manuscripts.
Yeah.
Like the old like drawings they did back in the day, like the church did and stuff. And I thought that would be cool to kind of combine that into the style. And like I said, it was also when I first came up to them, I came up with these ideas watching Samurai Jack and things like that. So it all kind of made sense to come together. And then as the game started coming together, the simple bright colors seemed to really make the game stand out. That was one thing we kept hearing from people, is they were really excited about the look of it and the colors. And when we would show the game at like conventions and stuff, one thing that I would notice is like people would come up and say like, "Oh, I saw this game from across the room when I came in." So it was I feel like the colors and the simplicity really makes it eye-catching. Like doing something in a more detailed style though does feel like, ooh, you hit some characters and it's like, oh, I'd love to really make a cool, detailed, like realistic version of this. So, I mean, that could be another game someday. But I find like, yeah, this style. There was so many artists and both like old classical artists, cartoonists, comic book artists, video game artists that I wanted to kind of play with and draw inspiration from. So it all just kind of came together in this.
Now, besides the art style standing out, there is a story within this. How do you go about designing a story from the ground up? Where do you get your imagination rolling, and how do you start that process?
Oh man, you remember this, Kelly? So at first, I had the idea because once Kelly gave me the go-ahead and the blessing of like, yeah, let's use the designs. I was like, okay, I like the story of you know, like a people, you know, that having like you know, maybe, you know, antagonize them with somebody else, right? And you know, Vikings did used to come and loot a lot of the areas around Europe. One of them being Ireland, old Ireland. So at first I thought, you know, maybe we'll do it a revenge type of game where, you know, the Vikings came, raided the O'Connell village, and then, you know, you got to take you know, revenge on that, right?
Right.
Free the people. But as we developed the idea, Kelly was pretty wise to say, you know, like Vikings, as much as, you know, it writes itself almost, it would be good to actually make use of the folklore, you know, have more of the world, the fairies, which in I think Irish or Celtic is called Ishi,
Okay.
the world of the Ishi. So I was like, you know what? I think you're on the right track. Like, so let's start moving away from Vikings. So that's just something that any other game also has Vikings. So let's move on towards the folklore. So that's when Kelly started to play a more important role into defining the story. We had a lot of talks about what should the story be. You know, it's about 3 siblings. Should each character have an arc? What does that arc look like? Can we have the budget and time to develop the arc? And that essentially kept evolving to what we have now, which is a much more simplified story that is more cohesive. Also for the time and budget that we have in terms of making the game and finishing it, and still hitting the goal of like fully showcasing as much as we can the folklore of Celtic, Welsh, and Scottish folklore.
What is the basis of the game? What is the story, Francesco, about Clan O'Connell, the Crown of the Stag?
So the Crown of the Stag is the core item in our game. We established that in order to bring the world of the Ishi and the world of the men, the early clans that form, we have to put them against each other way back in the day, and through a like century of being at war with each other, they struck a peace, and they create what we call the Crown of the Stag, which is the crown that symbolizes the union between the two factions. and peace was achieved for many decades. However, there's this very awesome character in Celtic folklore called the Karanak, which is the mother of devils, and I like her to be our antagonist, and the character would hold resentment over the whole piece, feeling like they were robbed from their right to be the safekeepers, I suppose, of the world, and not men, right?
Right.
And that's why we follow or move forward to to what it would be the present day in the game, where the Karanak has finally returned. She has collected the creatures of folklore, like a one-eyed Cyclops Baylor, which is another character of folklore, the Dullahan, which is the headless horseman, which is actually comes from Celtic lore, and they've come to take the crown of the stag from men, and in that way, it kind of pushes the story forward of the three siblings trying to save or keep the peace and save his father, who's now his life is attached to the crown itself. So like that's more or less the story of the game. I don't know if Kelly, you have anything to add to it.
No, it's a story of family coming together and putting things aside and going to what's truly important and save their family, save their people. Yeah.
And that is a quick peek at Clan O'Connell, Crown of the Stag. Now to end things off, check out this trailer.
Okay, Corey, we'll build this bridge when we come to it. Alright, Corey, we're back with Polybridge 2. This is a bridge building simulator, I guess you could say. What was your first impressions jumping into this one?
Well, to be honest, I haven't played Polybridge, the original, so I didn't really know too much about this one jumping right in, but I do really enjoy bridge builder simulators in all their varieties, whether they be really simple or more complex. And this one actually kind of has an interesting approach, or something I haven't really dealt with too much in bridge builder simulators before, and it has a lot of kind of interesting mechanics that you get involved with very quickly in this game. There's hydraulics for drawbridges, and there's some springs, and there's a lot of different interesting things that you don't normally get in these types of games that make building these bridges and allowing the vehicles to get from point A to point B in a very interesting manner. It's not necessarily as linear as some of these games are so normal or used to being. What did you think?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good observation because I think they give you more tools than I'm used to.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of anything you can imagine to kind of tweak your bridge, like a rope and a cable and hydraulics, like you mentioned, and springs. It gives you the ability to make elevators and things in your bridges.
Yeah.
And that kind of elicits more of a challenge. So the challenges are definitely way more extreme. There's boats that come through the levels that you have to have drawbridges for, and then heavy equipment on top of that is going and using that bridge right after. So it definitely gets difficult quick.
Oh, for sure. It's one of those ones where when you first get in, they give you some pretty basic tutorial instructions. But again, this game isn't overly complex when it comes to controls. It's, click and drag, and you pick your different materials depending on what you're building. Make sure you're building your roadways in the proper manner. And then you're also, you're using wood where you can, but steel where you need it, because there's a budget when you're playing through these different levels. And there's a lot of things to take into consideration. And I mean, that's, it's a lot of the same metrics you get in a lot of bridge builders when it comes to having that certain budget that you got to work with, and sometimes limited materials depending on what you're doing or what you're trying to accomplish. And then again, depending on what you need to build, you also have to consider what's coming across, and sometimes it's not just one vehicle. You're looking at multiple vehicles plus a drawbridge situation. If there's a boat coming through, like you said, there's a lot of things that come into play, and it doesn't necessarily make this one an easy one to complete when you start getting into the later rounds with this one.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because there's a lot of levels to this game. They give you kind of like the mathematical tools I've noticed while you're making it, the snap grid and the ability to like see the angles, so you can make sure you have equal triangles, the strongest shape, and that kind of thing. But yeah, when you're going into all of these levels way later on, it just systems on systems are needed to be understood to make the bridge function properly. And there is a kind of a guide in the top left that'll you can reread your tutorials on how each of the things work. But I personally had an issue with hydraulics right at the start. There's something about it, I wasn't figuring out exactly why my bridge wasn't quite working or folding up like I thought I wanted it to. But when I burst that bubble and I went with more simple designs, more realistic things you would see in the world, then it started working out better for me. But you should see all this stuff in the workshop. There's people that make the most ridiculous designs, double helix DNA designs, and like crazy loop-de-loops. This game has the tools for the people that are really diehard, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's nice to have that creative aspect to a game that's already, like you said, pretty deep with levels. Like, we've got 4 different worlds here with plenty of levels in each world. And the nice thing about, when you approach one of these new mechanics, like you said, the hydraulics, or, we did talk about springs or cable systems, they kind of give you the opportunity, they prompt you, if it's the first time you've run into this mechanic, to do a short tutorial level just to give you a quick explanation on exactly how they kind of give you the first ideas on how it works, and then basically your imagination takes you where you want to go from there. And then it's just there's so much to do, and because of these mechanics, there's so many interesting ways to complete the levels. I mean, there's always multiple ways to complete these levels, no matter what kind of simulator you're playing in this genre. But at the same time, this one, like, I was playing a level where you have to launch a car, you have to launch the car off the top of the mountain. And the way the car has to land is you have to basically put springs under the landing to try to cushion that car's landing. And I just kept smashing through. And it was difficult until I finally kind of got that perfect angle. And I still broke the bridge, but the car managed to like bounce onto the finished platform and keep going. And I got lucky there. But I mean, this game was definitely difficult. There's a high degree of difficulty in this one.
And yeah, a bit of arcadiness to it as well.
Oh, for sure.
So, Polybridge 2 definitely stood out to me. I think we both kind of have a similar opinion of this one. It's such a package for anybody who enjoys this kind of a game in the genre. The ability to create your own stuff, and it doesn't look half bad either. This game gets an 8 from me.
You know what, Scott? I'm right there with you. I didn't necessarily know what to expect with this game because I never played the first one, and I'm disappointed now that I didn't because I'm having a great time playing this. Like you said, it looks great. It has that kind of cartoony feel, but it just suits the environment and the way you play this game. And I really love the different, interesting mechanics like the hydraulics, the springs, some of the cable mechanics, the fact that there's bridges that go through, boats that go through, and you need drawbridges. For me, I just had a blast. I got to give this one an 8 as well. Fun game mechanics and interesting bridge ideas really fuel this sequel. If you like bridge builders, you'll love all there is to do in this one.
All right, Scott, you ready to put out another fire?
I'm ready.
Scott, you and I checked out Ember on the PC from Muse Games. This one is a quirky, unique spin on becoming a firefighter, and I kind of got a sense of like an Overcooked-esque saving people in a fire experience. What do you think about Ember?
Yeah, this is a lot of frantic fun.
Yeah.
You're a firefighter, and your goal is often just to save everybody in the building, or most of the people in the building. Then sometimes you get like a bonus objective, like save some specialty items, cash,
sure.
Or there's another game mode where you just have to escape your dangerous building. So there's a lot of a couple scenarios that it puts you under that are just a lot of fun. And when you get into the game, the difficulty is in maneuvering the fires. It gets out of hand very quickly, and. Well, it's a lot of fun in co-op, as we found out.
Well, yeah, you and I played a co-op there for a while, Scott, and I think, honestly, this is the best way to experience the game, if ever all possible.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not 100% sure if it's coming to consoles, but I think it is, and it is also making its way to Stadia, so look for that in the future, but it is on Steam, and that's where you and I were able to check it out, and man, we had a blast playing the game, from designing your characters to upgrading your gear to getting quirky little helmets that'll give you bonus stats, and then going in and trying to put out a fire or man the electrical that's kind of either zapping you or you gotta shut it off, and then there's gas involved, and then you're throwing people off the building onto a trampoline, and like
which sometimes doesn't work out.
No, sometimes sometimes you're too late and all you see is the remains of somebody within the building.
Yeah.
The game is a blast to play, and I've been having a great time playing this one, Scott. This one's going to be sticking around for a while. I think even once we're done the game itself, that we'll go back to and play, just because you kind of get that party mode experience, right? And I think a lot of games now are kind of more of a serious tone, so to have something that's so lighthearted and just fun to pick up and play is a great time.
Oh, I think you nailed it on the head right there. Yeah, just the fact that you can pick one or two or whatever. It's very short engagements, and you hop in, you hop out. Sometimes you revisit the levels to do like a tweaked challenge, but it's very challenge oriented. It's not meant to be like a hardcore story. So it's better to challenge yourself and to see how good you can do. You grind for some money, and then you spend that money on different items to breach the house or clear the fire better, or push the gas away, or whatever it is to deal with the hazards. There's a lot of ceiling. Even though it's replayable, you keep coming back and you're able to grow as a character. That's very important.
That's very cool. I would have liked to see more character options, though. As when it comes to my own personal character, I think there's only like something like 6 to choose from.
And we were the same character, so I ended up being the old lady firefighter.
Yeah, so, out of 6, I would have liked to seen a couple more options. But overall, Scott, I thought it was really cool. It's something we've never really played before. Putting out a fire is typically a dangerous thing to do, but when you play it in a quirky experience like this one for Ember, man, it is just nothing but laughs the entire time. After kind of specializing in fixing your loadout, making sure you have the proper gear, sometimes it doesn't pan out in the fact that every time you go in and rescue somebody, then you go out, you throw them into the safety zone. As you go back in, the fire has changed and manipulated the environment in one way or another. I thought that was really cool, that you're never going in and expecting the same thing over and over again, as like maybe something else has fallen in your way because of the fire, or the fire's just really kind of gotten out of control. It's just absolute chaos like the entire time you're playing. I thought it was really awesome. Well, Scott, that was Ember. Things were on fire in this one. What do you score in this game?
I had a lot of fun, and I love the look and feel of the game. It's so quirky, and the music really matches it, and it just gives it like this such a light, upbeat tone that I have a hard time putting this game down. I have to give this one a 7.5 out of 10.
That's awesome. You know what? I have a great time as well. The art style, I think, is so chaotic with the game experience. I think everything just meshes together, and it's just a giant party mode within itself. I'm there with a 7.5 as well.
Ember is a fun and wacky firefighting experience, a small title with big charm, and it's best enjoyed in co-op mode.
Scott, you and I are checking out a game today, and I think we're staying in the shadows with this one. Scott, you and I checked out Shadowy Contracts on Steam. This is what's supposed to be a stealth RPG hybrid of a game where you go around and you're hired to take out contracts and then rewarded with gold, which are supposed to lead to other elements within the game. But honestly, man, this game is rough. I'm just gonna be brutally honest. This game is, the very first level kind of, I think, sets the tone for it all. Even the tutorial, to be honest, wasn't that intuitive. It wasn't that good. It was borderline broken, if I'm gonna say so. But the opening game portion of it, the first level says go to the village. Dude, the village was literally 5 buildings just kind of dropped in this location. It wasn't a village at all, and that kind of set the tone moving forward for the rest of the game, which was pretty disappointing because you and I are both the guys who love stealth on ITG, and this is kind of our go-to genre. So when I saw stealth or Shadowy Contracts come up, I was like, yeah, cool, stealth game back in the medieval time period. I'm down. But Scott, I'm not feeling it. How about you?
Yeah, you summed it pretty well. There's magic, there's weapons strewn about. You can equip yourself with items that don't seem to matter too much, but you do take on this stealth role, or supposedly. The stealth is pretty broken, and when you're creeping around, the NPCs kind of just have a set path they follow, and they don't really react to too much that you do. You get points and skill points and gold to spend on upgrading yourself or buying new items, but again, it just doesn't seem to work. There's the elements of what could be a good game. On paper, this all sounds pretty cool, but it just isn't executed in a way that was very satisfying. The visual of the village does set the tone. It doesn't get clearer than that. It does have this weird kind of texturing issue going on. I encountered a clipping issue very early on, And then, like I said,
yeah.
the AI is very basic, if pre-planned.
Very mundane, right? Like they just, half of them are either standing still or they're walking to one location and literally turning around and walking back to the next where they came from. So it's like from point A to point B and back to point A. There is no sense of this lived in area. They're just kind of there, planted and set on a path, and that's kind of, it becomes predictable, which then becomes unfortunate within the gameplay of the game. And then to be essentially what should be a stealth game, as you sit in the grass or other areas that you should be kind of hidden within in typical other games, like you can see this sense of you're almost invisible in a sense, right? Like you get the awareness that you're in stealth mode.
Yeah.
But here, dude, even
None of
ducking
that.
grass, you're being spotted anyways, right? All of a sudden this eye comes up, and then the bar comes and notifies that you've been spotted, and then there's 3 hacks with their sword and you're dead. And that's just, like, it was really tough to push forward within the game because the whole mechanic of everything just didn't quite work.
Yeah, the whole stealth thing breaks down very quickly, and then you start speccing into something different, like magic, and that enables you to at least cast spells. But the spells are really tricky to aim. The lock-ons don't really quite work. The controls seem kind of clunky, and they aren't explained to you very well. There's not. I don't think it tells you that you can block, but that's a very integral part once you have a shield or a two-handed weapon. So there's like a lot of intricacy that it wasn't up front with, but it becomes a combat game, and they have these exercises outside of the story, which is just a series of small villages or cabins to raid, and they're battles, and they turn out to be like these gang fights. Interesting concept, and I like that it's a separate from the main kind of story, so it doesn't have to be tied in really, but it just, again, it's showcasing combat that seems unfinished. So I'm not quite sure where the game is, in terms of that. It has come out quite a while ago now. It doesn't seem to be receiving updates. I think what you get is what you see is what you get.
But yeah, honestly, unfortunately too, right? Because like you said, the premise of the game honestly sounds really good, but the execution of it all is just very limited and broken to the point where a shadow stealth mechanic just isn't existent within the game, which is unfortunate, because if you're a fan of the genre of stealth like we are, you're just not going to get that experience that you experience in a lot of other games. You're not going to have that stealth. Right in the title was shadowy, right? There is no shadows to hide in because you're spotted instantly.
It's unfortunate, but what would you give this one for a score? You sound about ready.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely ready, Scott. Nothing here worked for me, and unfortunately, Shadowy Contracts gets a 2.
Yeah, same from me. A 2 based on the concept, but the delivery just totally wasn't there. Disappointing.
Yep.
A disappointing execution of a potentially great concept. We did not have a good time.
Alright everybody, we are checking out Quantum League in this week's Let's Play. Scott and I have been battling it out pretty hard here lately. Scott is loving this game, and basically we're in a parallel universe where our after selves are kind of still alive. So let's get into this one. Scott, you are absolutely digging this game, dude.
Oh yeah, you're gonna hear my keyboard clicking, clacking away, because that's something I get into.
Yeah, this one's cool. It's a lot of unique strategies in this one.
Yeah, when you die, if you want to get to the finish point, and you can do it as a ghost, and the value is still there, because if you are able in the next life to prevent the death of that clone, it'll go on to get the point and win. So
Down
it
below.
gets to be like this really weird cat and mouse game.
Got him. He's up top. Oh, I'm desynced.
Got one of them.
I'm
not gonna make it.
I'm not gonna make it either.
I stopped them at least.
Nice. Alright, so now we're gonna rewind And then we're gonna go for the next round. And we're always trying to get to the center and get that point and capture the round.
Yeah,
Okay.
you get 3 chances to set it, 3 loops in a cycle. And, oh, he's almost dead.
Whoa, who's here? Nice. I got
I'm on
desynced.
point.
Oh man. Dude, I don't know
Oh
who shot
no,
me.
I did too.
Oh
Last
no.
second. But number 2 took me out.
That's alright. Man.
At the end, so at the end of 3 loops, whoever has either somebody on the point or the most people on the point, takes that round, takes that point.
Like, they're not even going for it though. Wow, dude, I got nailed. I'm gonna resync myself.
I just have to prevent.
Oh no.
Oh,
Behind
I got
us.
desynced.
No, 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 no. Oh, we got it.
As if we got it.
Watch the
Dude, it's-
replay.
Okay, so
Dude,
Yeah,
you
check
gotta
this
see this replay. This is insane. I can't believe I pulled this off. He was right there too. So if both teams are on it, it kind of puts it at a standstill. But I'm able to kind of hold out. And this guy, look at this. He's right here, Scott.
Oh,
He's like
and
right
you
there.
stopped him.
Look at.
That was the one I couldn't stop.
All right,
And,
so there's
he
round
Killed
one.
us the one time.
So they're 15-second rounds, so that's like super fast. But it's worth it. It's really worth it.
Oh.
Oh, nice. Where's the other guy up top? He's coming. He's coming in. He's got a shotgun. Got him.
Got him, healed,
Nice.
and I blew up that canister just cause. That's another thing about these health packs is they can bring you back to life if you've been killed in the round previously, and they can also restore you to full health. So it's a lot of value in grabbing it to deny the enemy team the.
And if you
The
can
health
kill
pack.
who's killed you in the past, then you don't actually die. Like, that's the cool part about it. Oh no!
Oh, I got one of them. This is just a number 1, so
Oh,
don't
no.
get shot by him. Oh, we didn't get him.
I couldn't
Okay,
get him.
that's okay.
I was switching weapons. We need to kill him first.
We need to make
then-
sure that number 1 dies.
Yeah.
We
So
can
ne-
just throw a couple shots on him though and save our other guys, because together all of our clones will take him out.
Exactly. Nice.
Oh,
Oh, he's still
one up.
alive.
Oh, I shot
Got
my
him.
own guy.
Oh,
I
come
think
on.
I shot
Got
him.
him.
Yeah. All 5 of us are on point.
Man, that is a loaded platform right there.
All right. Yeah, check that finish. We
Oh,
all
wow.
assemble like the Avengers in the center at the end. Spoilers.
So we kind of feel like it's a semi-feel of like a Rocket League experience. It's-
Oh,
look at
yeah.
all that! We're all there! Oh, this game.
Oh, there you go. New round.
Number 1 swept right again.
I got the other one.
Got him.
I got the other one.
Nice.
And both of us are on point.
Gonna go grab that health.
Oh. Oh. I
Oh, we're
body
good.
shielded.
We got it. Nice. Alright. Comes down to this, Scott. Let's sweep it up.
Yeah, we got this.
Okay, I'm gonna go left. Bottom left. They're on the bottom as well. Hey, desync. I'm back.
Oh. That was
Nice.
scary. I'm standing behind a bunch of human shields.
Got him. Oh man. That was...
Me and 2 of you on the party.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Quantum League on PC. We're on Steam if you want to check this out. We're having a blast playing this. This is nothing but crazy fun, and Scott and I are loving it. But let's head back to the show. Well, that'll wrap up this week's show. Some awesome reviews, a brand new segment as we follow the Clan O'Connell team, and of course, that Let's Play that Scott and I did was a blast. Now to wrap up the show, you guys hit us up at InsideTheGame.ca, but today, I'm featuring an old clip from Scott and I with some Rainbow Six action. So let's check it out, and we'll see you next week inside the game.
One robber left. The robbers have been killed. Drinks are on me.